All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a 49er video. Check out Pig and a Pickle, two locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. All right, let's talk a little. And then, of course, we're also brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Niners. Man, the overwhelming story of the first week of 49er training camp is this unbelievable rookie class that the 49ers have assembled. And it's really interesting. And it's like it makes me want to talk a little bit about the 49ers draft class in 1986 because this is the Niners volume draft class if I've ever seen it. It's so impressive. We're going to go through this list. There's so many players this year that are rookies that I really think are going to be Niners for years to come. But let's first talk a little bit about the 86 draft. And I'm going to share the screen so you guys can see the 86 draft in its entirety. The 86 draft is arguably the greatest draft in 49er history. Oh, wrong one there. And it was an incredible draft for the 49ers. Here it is. And here it is, the 1986 draft. Started with Larry Roberts, then Tom, and first of all, the Niners I think the Niners had a pick in the teens, and they ultimately traded back a couple times, and their first pick wound up being in the second round, pick 39 overall. So they traded out of the first round into the second round. They accumulated more picks, as you see here. The Niners in the 86 draft had 3 third-round picks. They had 3 fourth-round picks. And they had 2 10th-round picks. This is back when the draft went 12 rounds or 10 rounds. It was a long draft. But look at the 8 starters the Niners got out of this. Larry Roberts, starting defensive end. Tom Rathman, starting fullback. Tim McKyer, starting corner. John Taylor, Pro Bowl caliber starting wide receiver. Charles Haley, Hall of Famer, defensive end. Steve Wallace, starting offensive tackle. Kevin Fagan, starting defensive lineman. Don Griffin, starting corner. So there you go. That's 8 starters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 starters. Now, I don't know if the Niners got any undrafted players out of that. As I said, it was a 10-round draft. But if you go look at this 86 draft, now granted, the 85 draft didn't have a whole lot in it except for Jerry Rice. So the Niners drafted Hall of Famer Jerry Rice in 85 and Hall of Famer Charles Haley in 86. So that has a great deal to do with their success. But if you look at the Niners' success, and if we stop sharing on this and show you the 49ers' run of success after the 86 draft, and you're going to see for yourself what it looks like and how impressive it was. All right, so here's the 86 draft. And here is what happened in the years after the 86 draft. And basically what you're looking at is 87, 13-2. Lost in the divisional round, upset by the Vikings. 88, 10-6, win Super Bowl 23. 89, 14-2, they win Super Bowl 24. Back-to-back Super Bowl champions. 90, they go 14-2 and lost the NFC Championship game to the New York Giants. Otherwise, who knows? Maybe they win 3 in a row. 91, they went 10-6, missed the playoffs, if you can believe it. Destroyed the Bears in the final week 16 of the season, but missed the playoffs at 10-6. 92, they went 14-2, lost to the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game at Candlestick. 93, they went 10-6, lost the NFC Championship game again to the Cowboys, this time at Texas Stadium. And then 1994, Niners went 13-3 with their star-studded Dion team that had Ricky Jackson, Richard Dent, Gary Plummer, Lee Woodall, Bryant Young as a rookie, bar none as a rookie. That team went 13-3 and they won the Super Bowl. So from 87 through 94, you have their 8 seasons after the 86 draft. The 49ers had 98 regular season wins in those 8 seasons, or if you want to average it out, they averaged 12.2 wins per regular season in a 16-game schedule. That's incredible. 8 10-plus win seasons in a row. 3 Super Bowl championships. I mean, you could make an argument that the 86 draft set the stage for the greatest run in 49er history. I mean, if you look at the Niners, in 81, yeah, they won in 81. They were good in the 81 to 80. They won 2 Super Bowls, 81, 84. But if you really wanted to see like their greatest run, it's 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94. I mean, they averaged 12 wins a year. They were every year a Super Bowl favorite or co-favorite, or the runner-up. They were always one of the best 2 or 3 teams in football. They averaged 12 wins in the 8 seasons after the 86 draft. The 86 draft, combined with Rice in 85, was the impetus for the greatest run in 49er history. All right, so we'll stop sharing. But that was the 86 draft. And as I said, the 86 draft was a very good draft. Larry Roberts, Tom Rathman, Tim McKyer, John Taylor, Charles Haley, Steve Wallace, Kevin Fagan, Don Griffin. 8 starters. 8 starters. That's a really, really good draft. You can produce 8 starters. That's a really, really good draft. All right, well, let's take a look at the Niners. Let's take a look at the Niners draft from this year. And not just the draft picks, but even the undrafted players. The 49ers draft this year looks really, really good. But we'll start with the undrafted players, because there's a lot of players here that I think really are impressive. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. The undrafted players on the offensive side of the ball. Isaiah Neyor, 6'4", 220 with 4.4 flat speed. He's got measurables that nobody else, that the receivers just don't have. He's raw, but man, he's exciting. Undrafted free agent receiver. Has a chance to make the roster. Really, really intriguing. Drew Moss, undrafted offensive lineman. Has a chance. Really good player. Chris Furster says he really likes Drew Moss. Likes his potential. Corey Kiner, undrafted free agent running back. Corey Kiner has looked outstanding. Contact balance for days. To me, he looks like a poor man's Emmitt Smith. Runs hard. Almost never goes down first contact. Super competitive runner. Great productive player in high school and college. I mean, the guy, everywhere he's been, he's produced. Corey Kiner has been damn good forever. He had over 7,000 yards in high school. He was Mr. Ohio, Mr. Football in the state of Ohio as a senior in high school. 5-star recruit, went to LSU. Was really good as a freshman for LSU. Then transferred to Cincinnati and played 2 years there and is one of the most prolific runners in Bearcat history. Set program records. And now he's in camp. He looks amazing. He absolutely looks amazing. Corey Kiner, undrafted free agent. I think he's got a great chance to make the team. He looks really good to me. So those are the 3 undrafted free agents on the offensive side. Isaiah Neyor, Drew Moss, and Corey Kiner. All right, let's look at the undrafted guys on the defensive side of the ball. Yesterday after practice, Bryce Huff was shouting out the rookies that are wowing him. And he's like, man, C.J. West has been dominant. And then did he name Alfred Collins? No. Did he name Mikael Williams? No. He named Sebastian Valdez, an undrafted defensive tackle from the University of Washington who played at Montana State, I think, and then Washington. Seabass. He goes by Seabass. He's 300 pounds. He's really strong. He's really fast. And he has been absolutely dominant in some of the one-on-ones. He's been so dominant that it's hard for me even to believe that this guy's an undrafted player. And if it's one thing for Larry Krueger to shout him out, but when Bryce Huff is like, yeah, Seabass looks like a ton. Bryce Huff doesn't know Sebastian Valdez. He has no reason to pump him up. He has no reason to say anything good, bad, or otherwise. He's just being honest. CJ West has been dominant, and Bryce Huff said it. Sebastian Valdez is winning a lot of these reps, and Bryce Huff is like, man, Seabass is bringing it. So that's all I needed to hear. I love Sebastian Valdez. Love him. 300-pounder. All the guy does is win rep after rep after rep. Looks great. Looks absolutely great. Stone Blanton, the linebacker from Mississippi State, who was second in the SEC in tackles last year, had 18 in a game, had 14 in another game. Stone Blanton is wearing number 50. He's running around. He looks fantastic. Is he undersized? Yeah. Does he lack a little athleticism? I guess, but his instincts are off the charts. And you can see why this guy made 18 tackles in a game. You can see why he was such an incredible player in the SEC. Stone Blanton, undrafted free agent. Looks great. Absolutely looks great. Two other undrafted free agents that look really good. Jacob Robinson, the corner from BYU. Bleacher Report had an article a couple weeks before camp started saying the undrafted player that's going to make the Niner team is Jacob Robinson. Damn if he doesn't look great. I mean, he's wearing number 49. He does a PBU almost every practice. His upside, the positive trait on him is he runs 4.36. The negative trait on him is that he's too small to play. But I'll tell you, when you watch him, he doesn't look too small. There's nothing about his game that says he's too small for the NFL. So maybe he put on some weight in the offseason. Jacob Robinson, he is looking really good. And then yesterday, maybe the biggest hit of the day was Derek Canteen, who is another undrafted player from Cincinnati. 5'11", 195 pounds, and he's a good player, and he's got ball skills. I think Canteen had like 9 career interceptions. Robinson, I think, had 11. I think they combined for over, for 20 interceptions. That's a lot of ball skills. Both those guys look really good. So look at that undrafted list. And the Niners were 26th in the NFL in undrafted free agent spending. They didn't spend a lot of money, but man, they got a lot of bang for their buck. Nair looks freaking amazing. Because Firster loves Drew Moss. Corey Kiner, I think, looks as good as any back in camp. I mean, he looks fantastic. Sebastian Valdez is a revelation. Stone Blanton is everywhere. And Jacob Robinson and Derek Canteen look like viable corners able to make the roster. This is your undrafted group of rookies. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 on defense and 3 on offense. 7 undrafted rookies. Really look good. Really look good. That's the undrafted group. All right, let's take a look at the 49ers draft class now, on paper. And we'll take a look at it on paper and you can see for yourself. Okay, this is their draft class this year on paper. All right, and let's work from the back to the front, okay? Junior Bergen. Now, Bergen has caught the ball really well in camp. He doesn't look like much as far as size, speed. Doesn't look like much. But he definitely is a pro at catching the ball, and he's very, very sure-handed on punt returns. I haven't even seen him juggle one. He looks very, very good. So that's Junior Bergen. And he was the last pick, and I would say he probably, has maybe a little of an uphill climb to make the roster because he's not considered to be a great wide receiver, more of a return man. But if he's a dominating return man, that might be enough. All right, so you got Junior Bergen. Then you got Connor Colby out of Iowa, who made 50 career starts at Iowa. They ran the same system, the same outside zone that the Niners run, and so he's very skilled within their system. And he's very experienced. And I think there's a very good chance that Connor Colby could emerge as a starter at some point. Then you've got Curtis Rourke, the Maple Missile. He's been given a redshirt year. but you're talking about a big 6'6" quarterback with a really good arm and great accuracy. And the Niners are very excited about Curtis Rourke's potential. And this is the same organization that drafted Brock Purdy in the last pick of the draft a couple years ago. Now are excited about Curtis Rourke. So that one is one to keep your eye on. Okay, so then you've got in the 5th round, Marquise Siegel. Siegel runs in the 4.3s and has been popping people. I mean, he's a hitter. He's a hitter, but he also has coverage ability. He might be the long-term solution for the 49ers at free safety. Marquise Siegel out of K-State. And, when I saw this pick, I thought, well, you know what? John Lynch played safety. He's got to know what he's looking at there. And Siegel has not disappointed. Had a little injury, some injuries early, but man, this week he has been all over the place. Marquise Siegel is probably going to make the team and maybe is the long-term starter at free safety. So think about it this way. I think Colby could start. I think Curtis Rourke potentially could be a starter in the NFL. I think Marquise Siegel could start. Then you got Jordan James. Jordan James is a really good receiver. Pretty powerful runner. He doesn't have great 40 time, but he's a really good receiver, and he looks really natural catching the ball, even deep down the field. So he looks viable. Then you have Jordan Watkins. All Watkins did yesterday, he was their 4th round pick. All he did yesterday, I mean, to me, the 49ers dominated the 4th round. Jordan Watkins is going to make an immediate impact. He runs 4.37. He's 200 pounds. He caught a ball down the field from Brock Purdy yesterday. He's a good route runner. He's got good hands. He's done it in the best conference in America. He's got legitimate measurables. Purdy, loves to be aggressive, throwing the deep ball. This guy creates separation down the field. I think this is going to be a very important piece for the Niners. This guy will run off the coverage. He'll be that vertical speed. If Cowing or Nayer don't make the roster, this is your go pattern guy. This is a very valuable piece. So that was their 2nd pick in the 4th round. Their 1st pick in the 4th round was CJ West. CJ West looks like, if you said, describe CJ West, I'd say he's so violent that everybody that he goes against wants to fight him. Almost every rep he had in the one-on-ones yesterday, the offensive lineman took offense to the violence that CJ has in his hands and wanted to fight. I mean, this is a guy that takes your manhood from you and then, leaves you left to just, fight. That's it. I mean, CJ West is plug and play. He is going to start. There's no doubt he's going to start right away. And he's a fantastic pick. One of the best picks for the Niners for sure. 3rd round pick was Upton Stout. He's going to start at the nickel. He's wearing number 20. He's very physical. He's a really interesting player. He's a little on the short side. Other than that, he's everything you want. He's physical. He's tough. He's heady. He's smart. He's violent. I mean, Upton Stout's really good. He's going to start at nickelback. Okay. Then let's go up another spot. Nick Martin. D. Winters may draw the start initially, but Nick Martin is good enough to start. There's no doubt in my mind he has looked fantastic on the practice field. He's flying all over the place. He's violent. Wait until they start playing for real in the preseason. I think Nick Martin is going to starch guys. Then you got Alfred Collins. Now, Collins is a little bit of a gamble on greatness, right? He's got a Chris Jones build. We're talking about 6'5", 330, long arms. But he has unbelievable potential and talent. He needs to play with lower pad level. He needs to play with better leverage. He needs to, stay on the field, remain healthy. But he's definitely got starter potential. And then you have Mikael Williams, and Williams has been dominant at times. He's got a little bit of a raw rush plan. He needs more technique and more hand placement and just better everything. But man, now that you have Bryce Huff and you can line up Mikael Williams inside from time to time on key 3rd downs, I think he's in some ways ideally suited for this role. This kind of inside-outside role. He's not going to have to rush the passer every down opposite Nick Bosa. He's going to have Bryce Huff for that. He's going to be able to play inside and match up with guards. And some of his reps against the interior players have been very one-sided in Mikael's direction. He has had the upper hand, to say the least. All right, so let's be conservative about this. If we're being conservative, what are we looking at? I think Mikael Williams is absolutely going to be a starter. Nick Martin, absolutely going to be a starter. Upton Stout, absolutely going to be a starter. CJ West, absolutely is going to be a starter. So you got 4 absolute starters out of this thing. And then you've got, Alfred Collins could start. Jordan Watkins could start. Jordan James, I think, has starter potential. Marquise Siegel definitely has starter potential. And who knows about the other guys, Rourke and Colby and Bergen. I don't know. But when you add up this draft class, so it was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, an 11-man draft class, a 7-man undrafted class. You have 18 rookies in this camp. And, man, it is a good-looking group. And I think it's going to be, I don't know how many of these guys will become starters right away, how many will be starters eventually. But this is a very deep group. And this is on the heels of last year's draft. And if we look at last year's draft, last year's draft was really good. Last year's draft, let's take a look at last year's draft. And just share the screen on that one. Here's last year's. No, that wasn't it either. Here, wait. We'll give you last year's draft. But last year's draft was really, really a good draft. But this year's draft looks even better. It looks even better. Okay, here is the Niners draft history, and here's last year's draft. Ricky Pearsall, Renardo Green, Dom Pooney, Malik Mustafa, Isaac Guerendo, Jacob Cowing, Jarrett Kingston, Tatum Bethune. Okay, out of this group, I would say Bethune's a backup. Cowing, we don't know. But Guerendo, Mustafa, Pooney, Renardo, and Pearsall are no doubt those are starters. Those are starter potential players. So you drafted 5 potential starters last year. And this year, we'd say potential starters: Williams, Collins, Martin, Stout, West, Watkins, Siegel. We'll say James. So you got 5 starters last year. You got 8 maybe starters this year. And you got a whole slew of undrafted players this year that are really, really exciting. You've got a group of undrafted players this year that, we could do a video on that alone. Who's the most exciting undrafted player? Some would argue Isaiah Nair at 6'4", 220 with 4.4 flat speed. There's nobody in the NFL that's like that. Others would argue Corey Kiner. That's probably what I would argue. To me, he looks like a poor man's Emmitt Smith. Some would argue Sebastian Valdez. If you were at practice and you know what you're watching, you would be arguing for Sebastian Valdez. I've seen other people say it's Jacob Robinson. So, let's just say they have a nice undrafted class and they got a very deep draft class. And the 49ers could be looking at their version of the 86 draft this year. And if you take last year and this year and combine them together, it's a reset of their entire 53-man roster. So what is the story in Ninerland? Well, there's a few stories, right? If you said, what's the primary story in Ninerland? I would say it is Brock Purdy is ready for takeoff. He's got the contract. He's got the marriage. He's got the new house. He's got the baby. He's got the motivation. He's got Mac Jones clipping at his heels. Story number 1 in Ninerland, in my opinion, Brock Purdy is taking it to the next level, and he looks fantastic. I would say that's story 1. Story number 2 is, probably the return of Robert Saleh in the rebuild of this defensive front. And, that would be story 2. But story 3 has got to be the draft additions. They didn't have a big free agent period. They needed a big draft, but they had one. And to me, it's the draft and the undrafted guys and and what that has done to this roster. It's impressive. It's impressive. Is there a story after that? It's hard to say. I mean, maybe Brant Boyer and the remake of the special teams unit, with a guy who's had a lot of success in Boyer and other spots. Maybe that would be one of the subplots. Maybe the return of Christian McCaffrey, something like that. Year 2 of Ricky Pearsall. Maybe the wide receivers you could throw in as a topic. But to me, story number 1, Brock Purdy. Story number 2, Saleh and the rebuilt defense. Story number 3 is going to be John Lynch and the personnel department's reset of, their version of the 86 draft happened, and it was 2025. And the volume of players that is going to make this roster coming out of this training camp is going to make the 49ers a very young team, but it's also going to open up the next 5 to 10 years where the Niners are going to be one of the best teams in the NFL. And I'll make the prediction right now. Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, with, consistent development and the infusion of all this young talent, will win a Super Bowl together some point in Brock's run with the Niners. But that's the story. Brock looks amazing. His life is ready for takeoff. He's absolutely had an incredible offseason. Saleh's back, and the rebuild of the defense is on. But, man, the big story in Ninerland is how impressive is it to go out to practice and see the 24 draft class and the 25 draft class all on the field together, and you're looking at young, burgeoning, improving young talents all throughout the roster. And it puts the 49ers trajectory, as far as I'm concerned, on an upward plane. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.